Welcome back into Rounding Third podcast. I'm Nick, and we got Harrison tonight. How we doing, Harrison?
Good evening, Nick. A little crazy out there right now. How you doing?
It's insane. It's nuts. The last hour has been like I've been texting furiously. It's been nuts. But
It's been wild. It's all come at
um,
once.
yeah. Sean took some PTO this week. He is on vacation. He did put in a vacation request, and we accepted it. So he'll be back next week. But yeah. So yeah. Leading off tonight, we obviously know it's trade deadline tomorrow at 6, which is usually 4, isn't it? I think they
Yeah,
even pushed
it was usually 4 o'clock. They cut it off. That way, the league
but
office had time to process the last minute trades.
yeah. Where do we even want to start? Do we want to just start hammering the Red Sox right now, or what?
You might as well start there with the dumpster fire that is your Boston Red Sox.
All right. So Christian Vasquez gets dealt to the Astros, and he's literally in the hitters meeting, knows the game plan. He's out on the field taking BP. Everybody in the dugout knows he's traded. He's still out there, taking his round of BP. And then he comes back to the dugout, and like Bogarts is hugging him, and he's just like, okay, like what's going on? And they're like, oh, you're gonna switch dugouts. Like you're going over there. Like like
Well,
crazy.
and the one thing I hate about what baseball does at batting practice is all the access they give the media. Because like literally, he's not even off the field in the dugout yet, and he's already swarmed by press to talk about the trade that he literally, I think he only probably knew half the information about because he hadn't even made it back yet to see Cora. It's
Right.
that whole situation is weird.
Yeah,
But not only that, but not only that, like if you're Vasquez, you're in Houston getting ready to play the Astros, who you've battled with as a team for the last several years, and now you're gonna grab your bag, walk across the field, and suit up for the other team against your team. I don't know. It just seems like such a weird trade.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, I don't know if he's going to be in the starting lineup tonight. It would be really weird if he was.
I doubt it.
I mean, I doubt it too, but I mean, he's all prepped and ready to go. I mean, he went through his pregame stuff, but yeah, weird.
You just got to get changed.
Yeah. And then so that drops, and then if the Red Sox are going to be sellers, be freaking sellers. Like, I don't know what in the heck Hein Bloom is doing. We get Tommy Pham for a bucket of baseballs. Like,
yeah.
Why? Just let Jared Duran just suffer at the MLB level for the rest of the year.
Well, exactly. Like, wouldn't you rather see a guy like Jared Duran go out there and struggle and develop at the major league level, see what he's got, rather than shove 34-year-old Tommy Pham who wants to get his money in the corner outfield spot for the Red Sox? Like, I just don't get it.
And then the Red Sox are up for, I think it was like $2.3 million of that contract. So the rest of that contract for Tommy Pham comes over because he got a 1-year $6 million with the Reds.
Yep.
So the Red Sox have to finish out that contract. So my thing is it just a placeholder to hold Vasquez's salary for like money reasons or tax reasons? Like, is that possibly it?
I don't know. I mean, it's either that or they want to send Duran back down. They need some depth, or maybe they're going to do something crazy. Like maybe they're going to DFA Jackie Bradley Jr. and just let him move on. Or because I mean, the only thing I read in the Tommy Pham trade is they need to take at bats away from JBJ, which we all knew. We all knew they needed that other outfielder because Jackie Bradley Jr. cannot be an everyday player at this level. But why would you go out and get that player on August 1st when you've needed that player all year?
And all you're doing is upgrading maybe 15 points of batting average, and your strikeouts are still the same.
Yeah, the guy's hitting like 248 with 100 Ks. I mean, it's like, okay, great. Another guy who's just another human fan that's just going to go up there and swing and miss a bunch. Like we don't need more of those guys. We need guys that can hit and get on base because although Vasquez is not a good defensive catcher, he could hit. Like he was a plus bat at the position and a minus glove, and he worked out to be a slightly better than average catcher. Like you've given up a guy in your lineup who's actually had big hits for you and replaced him with guys in the lineup that can't hit.
Yeah. I don't understand it. So then the third piece fell, and that was Reese McGuire. If you guys don't know who Reese McGuire is, he was from the Blue Jays.
Join the club. I had to look him up.
Yeah, he played for the Toronto Blue Jays, and he platooned with another guy up there. I can't remember who. but then he was with the White Sox. So that looked like it was a straight swap for McGuire and Diekman. Jake Diekman goes back to the White Sox, and then they get Reese McGuire for catching.
And McGuire, so Vasquez is considered a below average defender and above average hitter, so he works out to be a better than average catcher. McGuire was a high draft pick, a plus defensive catcher. They consider him to be a really, really good defensive catcher with a developing bat, is the scouting report. But this is his 5th season in the majors. He's been a part-time player the whole time. I think his best average was like 248, 245, something like that. He's not a great offensive catcher, which is okay. Not a lot of pop, nothing really remarkable there, but a good defensive catcher. I don't view the Red Sox weakness being defense at the catcher position.
No.
It's not like the Red Sox were getting stolen on left and right. Was Vasquez a good defensive catcher? No, he wasn't. He was not. But he never was. He's been there for 8 years. That's not a surprise. They were just fine. But here's a guy that is under club control for 3 more years, young guy, still developing. I think Chaim Bloom looked at it and said, do we want Vasquez back? Maybe. But if I've got a chance to get a young guy and see what he's got, maybe I will. Doesn't mean Vasquez couldn't sign back here in the offseason potentially, but I'd like to believe a team like Houston's going to try to lock him up because their catcher position with Maldonado was an absolute black hole, and he's a huge upgrade. Mm-hmm. Huge upgrade.
Yeah, and Maldonado will come in defensively at the end because he's a plus defender.
Absolutely,
and that's the reason why he's there. But there's still going to be pitchers that want to throw to him and not Vasquez. Sure. Verlander being one of them, I'm pretty sure. Verlander, who was it that was like Mirabelli was always Wakefield's catcher.
Yep.
I mean, granted, Veritek couldn't catch him, but there is batteries that are like that where there's one pitcher that only wants to throw to one guy. I don't care if he hits 063. I want that guy behind the dish.
That was like Pedro. Pedro would only throw to Veritek. Veritek never got a day off when Pedro started. That was always the deal. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah, crazy. But so this is the thing is like we're kind of talking about it is like Chaim Bloom is like, we're not sellers, we're not buyers, we're just existing. Okay, like cool, but like,
yeah,
you're the freaking Boston Red Sox, for crying out loud. You're only 3.5 games out. Like, I guess the players are like ripped at Chaim Bloom right now for not trusting them and not believing in them. I mean, rightfully so. They just went through a July where they were 9-21.
Yep.
Let that sink in for a minute. If you're telling your GM right now that, like, you just, as a general manager, you have to be a seller. And Bloom's saying he's not selling the team here, and he totally is. Like, yeah, he's not getting rid of Bogaerts, but Martinez is gone, Vasquez is gone. You're not giving yourself a chance to come back. You're not upgrading your team. You're downgrading for sure.
And his quote a couple days ago was interesting. He said it again today that they're not going to be specifically buyers or sellers. He's going to listen to what's going on. He's going to hear the offers out there, and if he thinks there's value in the move or there's potentially a chance to grab some long-term assets that he likes, then he'll make the move. And I think looked at Vasquez was not like a guy you had to have back, so maybe you move him and see if you can't get a piece for him. Diekman, that was kind of a weird experiment. He just flashes of good, then really awful, and
however, like, you don't have anybody in the bullpen. Maybe the Tommy Pham deal was to move JBJ to the bullpen, take his bat out of the lineup, and get Diekman out of there.
That.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm lost.
Yeah,
I don't know.
We talked about, I like Chaim Bloom's approach. Like, if a move makes sense, we're going to do it. If it makes us better, great. If it doesn't make us better, great. If it maybe it makes us better next year. But like, I don't understand the moves. Like, dumping Vasquez for nothing in return makes me scratch my head. Moving Diekman for McGuire. Okay, maybe this kid's going to be a good catcher because Plawecki is a free agent at the end of the year. Vasquez was a free agent. You're probably going to turn that whole catcher position over anyways. So, okay, like, maybe that one makes sense. Maybe this kid will come here and be great. Who knows? Because he's never really had an everyday opportunity. But the Pham deal, you needed that bat in April, not in August. That's like making a move way after the fact. And like, Tommy Pham's the solution. So you still haven't traded JD Martinez yet. You're not listening in on what's that? Oh yeah, he's probably gone tomorrow. You haven't necessarily listened in on Bogaerts. You haven't made a move to re-sign Bogaerts or Devers yet. Like, I feel like I liked his approach, but I don't understand the moves he's made because I don't think it's gotten us anywhere. But he's amazingly calm, and he's amazingly convicted to this plan they have.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody knows what the hell it is.
I mean, if he turns all of this around and lands Juan Soto, I will literally shit my pants. But like
Right. I mean,
right here, right now, I'll shit my pants. But
yeah,
there's
for all
zero
we know, I
chance.
mean, right, for all we know, that could be tomorrow's announcement. He's just building chips to make that move, but that's not the Red Sox MO.
No. And I just I don't know why you're making those deals when you clearly need pitching. Even if it's middle of the road pitching, right? I mean, I don't care
that'd
if
be an
it's a
improvement.
number. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like a number 4 on the Oakland Athletics right now. Like I'd take him. He'd probably be our ace. Like
I mean, I feel like you'd accept anybody other than Ryan Brazier in that bullpen.
oh god, I can't watch him. He gives up 3 runs every time he steps on the mound.
But what kills me is that they're 3.5 games out of the wild card after a really abysmal July. Like the team is clearly a mess. They haven't, they've lost like 6 games of 6 games in the standings over that span, but they're not necessarily dead. But like, here's where you've got to pick a path, Heimblum. Are you making a run for it and bringing in some help right now, or are you saying, we're just far enough out that I don't think we'll overcome it, so I'm going to be a seller and rebuild for next year? He's picking that third path down the middle that doesn't exist, where he's going to kind of sort of help the future, kind of sort of help now. And I feel like this team's just going to continue to toil away for the rest of the year. And then we're going to go into next year with the same friggin' holes in the roster that we still haven't dealt with.
and
it's all for nothing.
Yeah, in the grand scheme of things, like you're 3.5 games out of the wild card after having a 9-21 month.
Yeah, horrendous.
I mean, for you to still be only 3.5 games out is honestly a miracle. Like you should be 10 games out at this point. 9-21 in the month of July. That's like worse than their September collapse a few years ago.
Right. And what's amazing with the Red Sox is after that July, they've now given up the second most runs in the American League.
Well, they did in one game.
Only Kansas City has given up more runs so far this season. Like this July run has been like historically bad.
Yeah.
Like historically bad. But you're a half a game behind Baltimore for 4th place and 3.5 games out of the wild card. Although you've played like trash for effectively more than half the season. You were awful in April, you were okay in May, you were great in June, you were trash in July. So really, for about half the season, you've been garbage, and for the other half, you've been a serviceable major league team, and you're only 3.5 games out.
For as bad as they were in April, it's crazy to think that they had a worse month than April. Like that one, that blows my mind. I just can't I mean, 9-21, man. I mean, how many of those were blown games too? Probably. I don't know.
Yeah. How many of them were games they scored 1 run in, or they went into a game with a late lead and lost it at the end? It's painful. The book on this team and going into the season was that the pitching was a big question mark, the bullpen was shaky, but the team would score runs. What we've learned is the bullpen's trash, the starting rotation is serviceable, and the offense is about as inconsistent as they possibly could be.
Yeah. I commented on a MLB, they had like playoff odds.
Oh yeah.
The Red Sox were like, at the bottom. Somehow the Orioles still have worse odds than the Red Sox.
Yeah, the Red Sox were like 8th out of 10 for their playoff.
But I comment, dude, there's so many ridiculously, like, no offense to anyone listening if you're one of these, but dumb baseball fans out there, dude. I comment and I go, the Red Sox have the same amount of chance of winning the American League pennant as the Colorado Rockies do, and they don't even play in the American League. And
I like
everybody lost their minds. They're like, tell me you don't know nothing about baseball without telling me you know nothing about baseball. I go, dude, did you read my comment? For crying out loud? Like I literally said it. Like, and it's completely a joke. Like it's right. Like just people are just and so butthurt about the Red Sox. Like I get it. Like I am too. Like I hate that they're losing, and I hate that they look like this when they're losing.
It's not like we're sitting here celebrating the fact that they stink. Like we are Red Sox fans.
Right.
Right. And it hurts me to see this team stink. But the reality of it is, going into the season, like I didn't pick them to finish fourth because like it felt good to say they're going to stink. I looked at the roster and said they're going to in the American League East they're going to struggle. And
Yeah.
have they won a single series in the American League East this year? No, they have not won a
That
single one.
that stat blows my mind. We are sitting here on August 1st, and they haven't won a single series against the AL East. Not
It's mind
one.
blowing. The Red Sox are 33 and 43 against teams over 500.
Oh my god! But
Like,
you know what? Like, and at the beginning of
and
the
they're
year, like,
hold on. Here's the kicker though, Nick. They are 12 and 29 against the American League East.
yikes!
12 and 29.
I'm surprised they have 12 wins, to be honest. But
I thought it was 11, but 12. I guess they're moving on up. But
I
like,
mean,
it's
like,
unbelievable.
I mean, my preseason pick was the Red Sox to make the playoffs, and I think I actually had them as a World Series pick. But totally looking back, obviously now it was a homer
mulligan on
pick.
that one.
Right. Oh, 100%. However, the team that they had and the way they played at the end of last year, I was hoping that they would come to the trade deadline here, make a couple moves, be competitive, and be there. Like you don't expect Chris Sale to break his rib cage falling out of his wheelchair or something like that. You don't expect, you don't expect.
He should have
him
gone to see
come back.
Deshaun Watson's masseuse. That's
Like,
what he should have
goodness
done.
gracious, or Bob Kraft's, one of the two. And then you don't expect him to come back and bust his pinky. Trevor Story, like bruised hand. It's not a bruised hand; it's a fractured hand. So he's out for another 10 weeks.
You haven't had Kike for most of the season. When you did have him, he couldn't do anything. Like this team, the problem is, and to your point, like last year is a bit of a fluke. Like this team stayed healthy. They got hot at the right time. They ran through the playoffs. It was a lot of fun because that was a team that, like that team was, they were very much the David versus Goliath. They shouldn't have been where they got to. But then what you learned this year is that they just didn't have the depth that they needed to be able to do that for another season. And the minute you had the first injury, the first cold streak, that team just imploded.
Yeah. And you replaced a 25-95 guy with Jackie Bradley Jr.
Yeah, and having Renfroe hit 2 bombs this weekend was a painful reminder of that trade. And if there's one off-season move you can go back to and point at and say that was absolutely the catalyst to this team falling apart, it's that one. Because you gave you gave away a guy in Renfroe who was he the best outfielder? No, but the guy had a cannon and he caught the ball when it was hit to him. But the guy hit and he came up, he hit in big spots. But what we also learned is that Renfroe is actually quite a clubhouse guy, which clearly this team is missing because this team is they're like zombies out there. Yeah. They've got no life, no anything. And from the sounds of it, Renfroe a lot of the times was the guy who would be kind of poking these guys and bringing them to life.
Yeah, zero pep out of them for sure. There's no clear leader on that team.
It's the Walking Dead watching them play. It hurts.
Yeah. And that's, I think, the most frustrating part is like your professional baseball players, like catch an infield pop-up for Christ's sakes. Like how many of those have fallen in this year? I've seen personally at least 6 where 3 guys are standing around and it hits the grass. Like, come on, fellas. Like that, like lack of leadership, that shows right there that there's no leader on this team. When 3 guys are standing around picking their wedgies as the ball falls between them. Like,
and the play, and we've beaten up on this a lot, and you even made a comment, I think, today on a Facebook post too. The play that will summarize their season is that inside the park grand slam.
Yep,
and it 100%. Wasn't because Duran lost the ball in the lights that happens. It's because he literally stood there and watched Verdugo come from all the way in left field. I mean, Verdugo must have run 150, 200 feet to get there. I mean, he was actually shading the line a little bit. Verdugo ran from all the way there to get that ball while Duran stood there and watched it. And by then, Tapia is already hitting third base, and it didn't even matter. But that is the play that summarizes this team. They failed to execute, then they failed to care that they didn't execute, and just watched it all happen.
Do you know the bright spot, though, that I can see sort of like a glimmer of hope is I can actually see Alex Verdugo being the leader of this team.
100%. I love Verdugo.
Yep, and I think he plays the right way. He plays the Boston way. He plays that, for lack of a better term, that Dustin Pedroia dirt dog kind of play. Like he hustled his ass off to get that that ball in center field. He had no business of even being involved in that play.
Yeah, he didn't
But
quit.
he
He
was
didn't
there.
quit, and
Right.
that goes a long way.
And I think, depending on what happens with Bogaerts and Devers, and even if they stay, I think that Verdugo could be a leader on this team 100%. And I think he'll sense that.
And I think if you look at it too, I feel like Chaim Bloom is looking at Devers and he's looking at Verdugo, and he's looking at Story, and those are going to be the guys they build around for the next 4 or 5 years. But you got to get the Devers thing done. You got to sign that kid, because in the meantime, you got Austin Riley, who an hour and a half ago agreed to a 10-year, $212 million deal because the Braves said, we're not going to let you go anywhere.
Yeah. And that's the thing right now. Okay. If you have no intention of keeping Xander Bogaerts, or you're going to throw him some minuscule offer, sorry, and he walks, Red Sox fans are going to be livid that we didn't get anything for him. Right. Because remember, no one gets compensation for free agents anymore.
That's right. That's gone.
It's gone. So he literally walks for free. Or if Bloom's like, hey, you want to come back and play for $25 next year? Red Sox fans are going to be ripped if they don't make a decent run. And I mean, like, a legitimate run at Bogaerts in this offseason.
Yeah.
Otherwise than that, he could have been dealt, because the Cardinals are putting together a package for Soto right now. And I just got a report that says that they're starting to back off from it because the Nationals want way too much.
The Nationals are insane.
If you would have sent Bogaerts to the Cardinals, you would have gotten those 4 prospects probably in a heartbeat. The Cardinals are dying for a shortstop, for a shortstop. And that would have done it. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
You definitely would have gotten some of those prospects. And the rumors on Soto are that the asking price is so high. A lot of teams at this point are just like, we're out. Jerry DiPoto, the Mariners, said, I don't see a clear path to making this deal happen. We're out on it. Then he went out and got Luis Castillo and gave up the top prospects they would have given for Soto. You've got the Padres are actually starting to back off, saying we don't see how we get this deal done. It's from what I'm reading, it is the Dodgers who are now making an aggressive push for Soto.
And they're
offering a package of major league guys.
Too. They just said looking at Pablo Lopez from the Marlins too.
That's insanity. Could you imagine? But in interesting news there, Nick, rumors are Joey Gallo is drawing strong interest from 3 teams. I don't know if they're looking for a water boy or what they're looking for, but apparently Gallo is in demand.
Oh man, yeah, I'd trade for him. You'd get 500 Ks and 2 prospects in return.
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want a guy that hits 085 and plays Gold Glove right field? I mean, that's what we're all looking for.
I posted the video the other day where a Yankees fan was just going off because I don't know if anyone saw it. I was watching this Yankees game, and they pinch hit for Joey Gallo, obviously trying to just go for the long ball in the late inning.
Yeah.
And this fan is just going off. He's just like, we need 1 run to tie, and they put in Joey fucking Gallo. Let me guess, a strikeout. And then like 2 pitches.
And what did he do? Probably strike out.
Yeah, oh yeah, dude. Whiffed like on a ball down in the dirt. Oh my god, hilarious. But yeah, I can't believe that guy's drawing interest. Like,
it blows my mind. So do we want to dive into the rest of the trade market now?
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna get to, is I think the reason the Soto trade started ramping up, especially today, Josh Hader goes to the Padres for 4 people, 2 major league ready people and 2 prospects. I mean, that's a really big haul for Josh Hader. And I think the Brewers win this trade for sure. They got Dinelson Lamet and Taylor Rogers in the back end of their bullpen. So you just got 2 pretty key bullpen guys. You move Devin Williams to the closer role, and then Hader and then 2 AAA prospects, and then Hader obviously closes for the Padres. But
and when you look at Hader's season, since he had that crazy inning streak, he's had an 8+ ERA. Like, he's not been good the last 4 or 5 weeks. He's blown a couple of saves. He's had a really high ERA. He's like Craig Kimbrell with the cardiac saves. And I think the Brewers looking at it as, okay, maybe we've gotten the best out of this guy. Let's go get a package. But honestly, if I'm a Brewers fan, I am stoked. They should have completed that trade with a mask and a gun, because they absolutely stole from the Padres.
Yep.
And the Padres, I think that's AJ Preller trying to make a statement that, hey, we're going for it. The fan base is going to get all jacked up about this. Is Hader really a big improvement? Maybe, but he's been
Yeah.
really inconsistent the last 6 weeks. But maybe some new scenery will kind of boost him back up. But I definitely think it's a good move for San Diego, but a great move for Milwaukee because they absolutely fleeced the Padres and got all of their prospects.
I mean, do I think the Padres absolutely lost the deal? Like, no. But I think the Brewers won, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the
100%.
Mets, it's kind of like the Mets and Braves right now. Like they're both really good. You know, like they're both going to benefit, but yeah, I don't know. But if you're the Brewers, you're taking that every day of the week. I don't even care if he's on that 40 inning stretch of whatever.
No,
like,
if a GM calls and offers that package, you had better take it because you'll never get that offer again. Like that's one of those trades that, like, if you put it in MLB The Show, be like unbalanced, can't do it.
Right? Do you want Christian Yelich too? Because you can have him too. But I mean, yeah, man, I don't know. It's crazy. And I think that's another part of the Soto deal that's holding people up is they're trying to ditch Patrick Corbin in that deal. Yeah, I've heard the Nationals have tried to back off from that because Corbin goes out and had an outing the other day. Did you see it? He pitched 1/3 of an inning and gave up 9 runs. It was like,
yeah, I mean, and the start before that, like he was okay. He went like 4 1/3 and only gave up a couple. Like the problem is like Patrick Corbin's arm troubles are well documented. They gave him that big. So he to me is like Chris Sale. He had that really great season. He got the big fat contract. He's had nothing but problems injury wise since then, and you've never seen him again. Like he's never been Patrick Corbin again. And there's still 2 more years on that deal, I think, at really high annual values. I don't think you're going to see that guy pitch like he used to ever again. I think he's largely done. My guess is anybody that traded for him was going to end up like retiring probably, and the insurance would pay out the contract. But having to take that baggage stinks.
Yeah, and
it is going to hurt the market for Soto.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, whatever. Someone's still going to end up putting a package together. Someone's still, the Nationals are going to have to back off. They want
friggin' Dodgers are going to add Juan Soto to the friggin' lineup. It's going to be Mookie Betts and Juan Soto in their outfield. It's like
Mookie Betts, Juan Soto, Freddie Freeman. I just
like my favorite baseball game of all time was Ken Griffey Jr. baseball on the N64. And I used to love to build my super team. I'd make all these trades, build the super team, then go like friggin' 162-0. Like that's what the Dodgers are doing. The Dodgers are doing in real life what I used to do in video games as a kid.
I just crazy. Yeah,
like
they don't even care about
LeBron James talks about super teams. He's got friggin' nothing on the Dodgers.
Right.
Man, can we talk about the most confusing trade of the day?
Yep.
Trey Mancini. What the hell are the Orioles doing? You were banging the drum loud about the great run you made, and you're back in playoff contention. You're in 4th place. You're 2.5 games or 3 games out of the wild card. Like you're a legitimate playoff team, and then you just traded the heart and soul of that team away for a bag of balls and a 6-pack of beer to be named later. Are you? What the heck? Are we waving the white flag in Baltimore? We get back into contention and say, nah, never mind, we're good.
So that was a 3-team deal. Did you know that? The details on that? Yeah. So Mancini to the Astros, and the Astros sent Jose Siri to the Rays, which he's not really that bad of a player. He's major league ready.
No, that's not a bad move for the Rays.
So the Rays are quietly making some moves here.
They are.
So they get Jose Siri.
But what did the Orioles get back?
They got prospects from the Rays.
Right. They got nothing that's going to help them. Like you're in playoff you're in playoff contention. You just took basically the unofficial team captain and dumped him off for prospects. So either the Orioles don't know what it's like to be in contention and just defaulted to their usual way of doing things, or they're like, yeah, we don't want to compete yet. We're good. Let's give you Mancini and we'll let this young team kind of figure it out down the stretch. But if I'm an Orioles fan, I don't know if I'm pissed or if I'm just confused, because that trade makes 0 sense to me.
Yeah. You know the saddest thing about that entire deal is the Rays DFA'd Brett Phillips, their best pitcher.
I saw that. He's like the most popular guy in Tampa.
Yeah. Imagine that. Like he's like literally their fan favorite there.
He's the mayor of Tampa Bay.
people go there to watch Brett Phillips, which is nuts.
I
But
know.
they do. All 3 fans that show up for every Tampa Bay Rays games.
Right. There's like at
And they
least 9
DFA'd
tickets
him.
a day sold to go see Brett Phillips.
Yeah. And they DFA'd him. Unreal.
And honestly, like he's not the biggest prop on their roster, but
Yeah.
And he
can play
my
anywhere.
guess is that they'll use that as a way to option him to the minors or something because nobody's going to grab him. But
Yeah.
But I mean, the Rays have very quietly made some moves to improve. You know, the Peralta deal I think is good for them. Peralta is a really nice outfielder you can rotate through. I don't know that he plays every day, but maybe he does because he's not having a great season. But you look at him historically, he is an everyday outfielder.
For sure.
Could be for them.
Yeah.
They've very quietly done some nice things.
Yep. And the evil Empire, the evil Empire did make a move. They got Frankie Montas and Lou Trevino from the A's to the Yanks. So
yeah, I just
for like nothing.
I watched the Red Sox make the moves they made, and then I see the Yankees go out and pick up Frankie Montas, and I'm like, really, guys? Like, I see your Frankie Montas trade, and I raise you Reese McGuire for Jake Diekman blockbuster. It's like we're playing checkers, and the Yankees are playing chess. Like,
and it took nothing to get them. It took nothing to get them. Like,
it was a bag of balls. I mean, what they gave up for Montas is frightening. And I don't know if that's the Oakland A's telling MLB, hey, look, we're just going to suck so bad you have to let us move. I don't know what the end game is for Oakland, but they literally got nothing back for him. I mean, nothing of any value. But the Yankees are going to just slot Frankie Montas into what, like the 3rd or 4th spot in the rotation. He's an ace for half the teams in MLB.
Yeah, 100%.
And he's just going to be like their 3rd or 4th starter, no big deal, whatever.
Yep.
I just like that. I don't know who's catching the Yankees at this point. I just don't know who's going to do it.
No. I mean,
getting rid of Joey Gallo is a huge win altogether if they can just dump him.
That 2-game set against the Mets, though, that they just had at the beginning of this week was
a good one.
Yeah, I loved it. I loved every second of that. And that Subway Series, if that's what happens, would be absolutely electric.
I've been dying.
Those teams are great.
I've been watching the Red Sox all year, and I've been dying to watch games that actually felt like they mattered. And watching the Yankees and the Mets was awesome. Like that had a playoff feel in friggin' July, and they were close. They were really tightly contested.
Every pitch
just had that vibe. The Red Sox haven't had that vibe since last October.
No. We mentioned Luis Castillo to the Mariners for that was that a 3 or was that a 4 prospect haul?
That was a 4 prospect haul. That was a lot of players going back.
Yeah.
Crazy. I mean, the Reds have dumped Tommy Pham, moved Castillo for a hell of a package, moved Tyler Naquin. Like the Reds have stockpiled some major league ready talent and some prospects and picks.
And they're not in last place, dude. They're 4th in the Central. Like what? Your Pittsburgh Pirates.
Saw that. I saw it the other day. I'm like, that can't be right. Which is a shame because the Pirates they were hanging in there for a while.
They were in 3rd for a while.
I know they just kind of fell apart. I mean, granted, both of those teams are 1 game out of 3rd place because the Cubs are 41-60 because the NL Central is so competitive. But
I mean, other than the top 2, there's no one.
No, you go Milwaukee, St. Louis is 3 games back, and then the Cubs are next at 15.5 games back. Although those standings look very similar to the AL East at these days. So what does it matter?
Crazy.
But it begs the question at this point, like we've seen some really smart deals. We've seen some really weird deals. It's been a lot of fun the last really like 6 hours here. But who's on the move next? Is JD Martinez going to go? Does the Soto deal get done? The Padres also in the midst of all this re-signed Joe Musgrove to a 5-year, $100 million deal. The Braves have made a couple of off-the-radar moves. They signed Austin Riley to a 10-year, $212 million deal. We've also seen a lot of contract extensions signed in this whole window of time. So what is that next move?
So I've heard a couple things. I've heard Tariq Skubal from the Tigers is also on the market. Someone could deal for him.
And Soto too. They've made Soto available.
Oh, Giovanni Soto. They made him.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
well,
they're listening on him if anybody wants him. If I'm Heim Bloom, I should pick up the phone because last time I checked, that guy's
on
a
both
pretty
of
good
them.
closer.
I'd take both
Yeah,
of them.
true. I
A starter
at
in
this
the
point, I'd
bullpen.
take both of them.
And please, for the love of God, just send back Brazier. And then
Do you honestly think anybody's taking Brazier in any trade package?
oh God, dude. I don't. If
If
the
you're the
Red Sox
Tiger,
are willing to take Tommy Pham, I hope someone's willing to take
yeah,
Ryan
fair.
Brazier.
Well, but they did that. But they took Tommy Pham in like a straight up trade. Like it wasn't even like he was a throw in. They called the Reds and said, "Hey, we want Tommy Pham." Like
No.
this is Tommy Pham's 5th team in 5 seasons. Like he wears out his welcome everywhere he goes.
Because he's punching people out because of fantasy football. I mean, why else? Like,
well,
he just must not be a good clubhouse guy.
Don't frig with the rules, Commish. You can't do that.
I mean, I agree. But, and then honestly, I mean, I kind of knew that he wasn't going anywhere because the Angels would be absolutely freaking stupid to let this guy or trade this guy. But there was some serious packages being put together for Shohei, and the Mets were on the short list. Like I've heard that they were almost, and Shohei wants to go to New York. Like if he ends up in pinstripes during his free agency, I'm gonna flip. But Hideki Matsui was there. He's talked about Matsui before.
Oh yeah, yep.
Like dude, it sucks. It wouldn't surprise me if him and Trout end up in New York. Just throwing.
No, they probably will end up in LA with the Dodgers because the Dodgers need an outfield that is Mookie Betts, Juan Soto, Mike Trout. They need a DH Shohei Ohtani. Yeah. I mean, if you're the Dodgers and you can spend $700 million on your payroll each year and not care, you might as well just go get all of them.
Dude, it's really bad when Trey Turner, your all-star shortstop's probably your 9-hitter. Like,
well, and that's a guy making what, $18 million a year, and he's like the least expensive guy on the team.
Crazy, man.
It's absolutely insane. And one interesting name I've heard bounced around quite a bit. I guess so. Back up one more step. The Mets get Jacob deGrom back, which is like making a huge trade at the deadline. That team is comfortably in first. The Braves behind them, without Jacob deGrom. Now, if you get Jacob deGrom for August and September, which relies on him pitching 2 straight months injury-free, which might be a record for him, that's huge. That's a huge upgrade. But another name I've heard bounced around is Noah Syndergaard's actually getting a lot of interest.
That's right.
He's not a power pitcher anymore, but he's really pitching well with the changeup and the curveball. He's become a good pitcher, not just a throw it past you kind of guy.
Yeah.
And there is some interest in him. That's a pretty serviceable starting pitcher. And I've also heard that the Astros are listening to inquiries on Jose, I always pronounce his name wrong incorrectly, Urquidy, who's actually like, they kind of don't need him. They've got 6 starters as it is. And there's actually some rumors that they might look to move him because they're looking for another bat.
So where are they lacking right now? I mean,
their biggest hole was catcher, which they filled.
Would it be center field?
Probably. You're probably looking at an outfielder. That's about all they got for holes.
Yeah, you got Yuli Gurriel. You got Jose Altuve. You got freaking
you got Pena and Bregman.
You're not moving them.
You got Alvarez at DH.
Yep. And then you have Kyle Tucker and right. So it's got to be a left or a right fielder, right?
Yeah, they've got to be looking for maybe an outfield bat, but they are apparently dangling Urquidy out there as the bait for a bat.
Huh. Interesting.
But that's a team that is literally 2 games off the Yankees' pace and have the 3rd best record in baseball, and they feel vulnerable and are making moves.
Yeah. It's crazy.
It's nuts. I mean, this is the Astros and Yankees. That's really right now the only 2 teams that matter in the American League are the Astros and the Yankees.
Yep, it's going to come down to those 4, depending on.
And that is going to be an awesome ALCS.
Yep, it's going to be if it all ends today, right? It's Dodgers, Mets 1-2, and then Yankees, Astros 1-2.
Yeah, that's it.
So I was kind of. Well, I'll bring it up later because I have it later on the list. Okay. We were talking about the vaccination status in Toronto.
Yeah.
But
with the Benintendi move.
Yeah, but we'll get there later.
All right. So real quick before we move on, does a Soto deal get done?
If it does, the Nationals cave, and I'm switching my pick from last week. I'm going to the Cardinals.
Oh, all right. It makes a lot of sense. They need a power bat. They need a power bat bad.
And you put
Arenado
him
and Goldschmidt are by themselves there.
and you put Juan Soto in between those two. Whew.
Oh my God, could you imagine? You break up those big right-handers with another big strapping lefty.
Or you put him in front of him because they're both on base machines.
Yeah, that's true. That's a situation where you move Arenado to 2, Goldschmidt to 3, and Soto at 4, and he's going to be hitting with the bases loaded a bunch.
Yeah.
Because then you got
Tommy
Erdman getting on. Yeah, Edman. Thank you, not Erdman. You got Edman getting on base at a pretty ridiculous clip. He's going to have runners on base all the time.
I mean,
all the time. And imagine how many more fastballs Goldschmidt gets if you've got Soto standing in the on deck circle.
I mean, you got 3 guys in a row that are hitting over 330. I mean, think about that. You're not going to get through that lineup without giving up a hit.
Oh no way!
Ever.
You won't go through one. You won't go 1 through 4 in that lineup without having at least one base runner, if not 2. Always.
Yeah, every time
No
around.
way.
Doesn't matter.
I mean, hell, the Red Sox. You can add the averages of batters 7, 8, and 9. You don't get 330, but these guys are going to have several guys in that bracket.
Yeah, insane.
I'm still standing pat. I don't think a Soto deal gets done. You got basically less than 24 hours to pull it off. Nobody's that close. So unless the Nationals, to your point, cave dramatically and just accept anything, I don't see how a Soto deal gets done.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I think if the Nationals cave, which they really don't have any reason to, they got 3 more years.
Yeah, why would you?
Yeah, if you don't get what you want out of it, then you just keep them.
Yeah, I feel like Soto's going to be an off-season trade. He's going to have to be.
Yeah, he's a winter meetings guy for sure.
Yep.
I think. Yeah, it's just like you said last week, it's kind of too tight to work out how much it's really gonna take to move him.
Yeah,
unless the Nationals
deal.
Yeah, unless the Nationals just get to the point where like, you know what, like screw it, like just go. Like we're good. Thanks.
That's a massive deal to pull off. I think you're gonna have to get a third team involved to get them the prospects they want. I just don't know how you pull that off before 6 o'clock. Is it 6 o'clock tomorrow?
Yeah.
Yeah, you got what is that, 21 hours now to get this done?
I mean, who knows? When we're in bed at 1 p.m. tonight and it's only 10 o'clock, California time, and he goes to the Dodgers, we'll be waking up to it.
Yeah, the Dodgers have like a 3-hour benefit because they can they can get going.
Crazy. Yeah. All right. Well, that's a lot. That's a lot of trade deadline talk right there. But
and tomorrow's going to be nuts,
even
man.
Crazier not tomorrow. Yeah.
I feel like tomorrow's going to be nuts.
Yeah. So let's move to the pals, the players of the week.
Yeah, players of the week. So in the AL, you had Aaron Judge coming off a 5-home run, 10 RBI week. I don't think the Red Sox as a team have had a 5-home run, 10 RBI week since like June.
He had another one tonight, so he's at 43.
Yeah, I'm done with Aaron Judge. I'm tired of hearing every night about 3 more RBIs and a dinger. And in the National League, your player of the week was Merrill Kelly, who had a 0 ERA over 2 starts for the Diamondbacks.
And dealt. There was like 8 innings, both outings, or something like that. Oh yeah, right?
No, they were. Yeah, he went 7+ in both starts. Gave up, I think, a handful of hits in total. I mean, he was dealing.
Yeah.
And I'm sure the Diamondbacks found a way to at least lose one of those games, but.
Yeah. Well, I dropped him, so it's fine.
Well, that's why you dropped him, and then he blew up and had a massive week.
Right. Yeah, that's how it goes. But yeah, I mean, they said Aaron Judge is like the first Yankee to win back-to-back players of the week since like, I don't know, like 18, 12 or something.
And he's now on pace for 66 home runs last I saw.
He could be the legitimate home run single season. But
careful. Let's not go down that road, Nick. That's gonna create a stir.
I was hoping for some comments here, but that's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. So players of the week. Anyways, we got who are the choices for AL and NL picks? Henry says Ohtani and Goldschmidt. And he said he'd like to clarify that's if Ohtani has an OPS over 800 and an ERA sub 3. So I kind of said that last week, right? Even though Judge is having the monster year he's having, Ohtani just has both sides of the ball. And people look at that and they're like, oh, that's so pretty. It's so great. Like, he's definitely the MVP because he can do it on both sides. Like,
well, and people are fascinated by the fact that he pitches and hits.
Like, it's like, I don't know. Like, is it impressive? Like, yes, it is. I have a friend that lives here in Chapel Hill, and he asked me the same question both years about this time. And he goes, is Shohei Ohtani having the best season ever of any player ever? Because he can do it from both sides of the ball.
Right.
And I'm like, well, it's hard. Like, what do you think about that? Would you?
Yeah, so here's where I stand on it. I didn't think Shohei was the MVP last year. I thought it was Vlad Guerrero because Ohtani was he was a good hitter. I mean, let's not joke ourselves. The guy hit 257 with 46 bombs and 100 runs batted in on a team that stunk.
Yeah.
So I mean, the guy is a legit major league hitter, and he pitched pretty well. He didn't pitch a lot, but he pitched well. So I feel like, hitter solid. He's a power hitter. He's a threat. The pitching's like gravy on top. It's like, okay, cool. Like, the guy pitches too. Was he like elite at either one of them? You could argue that maybe not. You could argue that he was a decent pitcher and a good hitter, but like Vladimir Guerrero Jr. smoked him in every offensive category there was. And then Ohtani won because he pitched too. So it's kind of, he got that sandwich effect. But I would argue Ohtani offensively is having a similar season to last year, maybe a little bit less power, fewer RBIs. He's actually pitching better than he did last year.
He's like flip-flopped.
Right. So it's almost exactly, he's flip-flopped. Last year was heavy offense plus pitching. Now it's really good pitching plus offense. It's hard to argue that a guy who honestly fills 2 roster spots isn't the most valuable. Because he is. He's providing you, he's one player, one roster spot filling 2 positions and doing it well. It's the anomaly we haven't seen since Babe Ruth, of a guy that hit home runs and also pitched. So I give the guy massive credibility and massive credit for the fact that he's doing both at the major league level. It's hard to do one at the major league level.
Right. At the same time, Babe Ruth didn't really spend most of his career. Like, everyone's like, oh, Babe Ruth was a two-way player. Like, really? He wasn't. He pitched, right, and occasionally hit. I don't think he was like an everyday hitter when he was pitching with the Red Sox. And then when he went to the Yankees, they threw him in the outfield, and they're like, you're just going to hit. Like, I don't think he was ever like a true two-way player.
I think yes. But the other part of it too is that when Ruth played both ways, he played left field, he played right field. Ohtani DHs. Like, Ohtani's not in the field. So I struggle a little bit because he's basically a pitcher that also hits every day. Like Babe Ruth, like, I hate the comparisons to Babe Ruth because Babe Ruth pitched on Monday and then played the outfield Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and pitched again on Friday. Yeah. Like, Ohtani's not doing that. He pitches on Monday and then DHs Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, pitches again on Sunday. So it's not the same because he's not in the field. He's strictly a DH. But at the same time, the guy is, we always knock catchers because they don't spend enough time on B peaks or always working with the pitchers. Well, this guy's throwing a bullpen and then grabbing batting practice, then jumping on the field. So does he absolutely deserve the credit for what he's doing? Sure, absolutely. What he's doing is it's not unprecedented because Ruth did it. He is strictly a DH, so I devalue the offense a little bit. And he's been a good pitcher, not like an elite pitcher. But does that make him an MVP? I don't know, because when you look at what Aaron Judge has done for the Yankees, if Shohei Ohtani fell off the Angels team, they still suck. If Judge falls off the New York Yankees roster, they are probably 7-8 games worse than they are right now, and they're fighting for a division. They're not coasting to one.
He's already got 90, 93, 94 RBIs.
Stupid.
I mean, okay, so then the Yankees are only up 7 games in the division without Aaron Judge. But I know your point is. Your overall point is, yeah.
And that's it's not the most statistically outstanding player. It's the most valuable.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a really tough time giving an MVP award to a guy on a team that finished in friggin' nearly last place.
Yeah.
And that's why Vlad Guerrero, I think, should have gotten it last year, because that Blue Jays team, he carried them to almost winning that division.
Yeah.
And then you look at Ohtani, the team sucked. They sucked this year. Like it's the same argument for why Trout, Trout winning MVPs was kind of a joke because that team was always terrible. I find Ohtani is super impressive. To be able to do it on both sides of the ball is super impressive. But at the end of the day, he's a pitcher that DHs. He's not Babe Ruth. Stop comparing him to Babe Ruth. They're not the same. But it is impressive. He's hitting and pitching at a major league level.
Yeah.
But he's not the MVP. And he wasn't last year either.
Yeah. I mean, I could have argued last year that he was the MVP last year just because he did have similar power numbers to Vlad, and he pitched. Like last year, I could see the argument. This year, it's Judge. Like there's no way around it. I mean,
right.
Unless you want to call him, I mean, Ryan Brazier is pretty much the MVP for the AL if you really want to narrow it down. Like, I mean, he's let the other team win every time they face him. So I mean,
he's like the undercover MVP. But you look at it, you know, last year you had Guerrero and Ohtani, but then you throw Ohtani pitching, and it's kind of like, we're gonna push him up above Guerrero.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like if he missed the whole season, the Angels still would have sucked. Like it doesn't matter.
1,000%. Well, everybody else on the page says Judge and Goldschmidt, so I actually want to stay.
I feel like that's the obvious choice.
It has to be, right? There's really, I mean, I said Pete Alonso last week, and if he stays hot like he is, he could sneak in there. But I mean, again, I think in the NL, it's Goldschmidt's to lose for sure.
I mean, when you look at where the Cardinals are, it is because of Goldschmidt and Arenado. Like that team has got a bunch of holes, but those guys, Arenado carried them in April and May. Goldschmidt's carried them from June and July. Mm-hmm. It's just hard to argue. And you know, you get the feel good story of Albert Pujols, but that team's not necessarily better because Albert's there. But you got other guys like Edmonds had a great season. Like Wainwright looks like his old self again. Like you've got a lot of other good storylines in there, but really it's been a story of Arenado carrying them for the first 2 months, Goldschmidt carrying them ever since, and Goldschmidt's numbers are stupid.
Silly.
And he's not getting the same pitch selection other guys are getting. He's getting, Judge is getting, Judge benefits from being in that Yankees lineup. You put Goldschmidt in that lineup, he's probably got numbers like Judge, but Goldschmidt is absolutely raking and deserves consideration.
Dude, you should see the cock shots that Aaron Judge got tonight.
Oh, it's stupid.
He got
fastballs down the middle.
He got a cutter belt high right down the dick. Like, I like
might as well tee it up. That home run he hit in Baltimore last weekend that he hit like 9,000 feet, that was a friggin' hanging curveball at his belly button. Like,
dude, I mean, just throw 4 to the backstop at this point.
My 10-year-old son's putting that in the first row of the bleachers. I mean, he should be hitting that ball out.
Right. Man.
But no, I mean, he's getting different pitch selection because that offense does wear you down. Although in his defense, that offense hasn't been elite around him. They've been good, but Stanton's very quietly had a good season too. But again, he's in that load management protocol where he's playing like 4 games and sitting 1 and 4 games and sitting 1.
I think he's out right now, right? I think he's
he just put him on the IL for was it a knee or a hammy? I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
But they're very much managing Stanton's innings because of his track record.
Yeah.
So I mean, Judge has had some inconsistency around him, but he's still absolutely raking mistake pitches left and right.
Oh, what you still have to do, don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to slight Aaron Judge in any way, shape, or form. The guy's been absolutely ridiculous.
He's a freak. He hasn't missed one.
Like, I would throw every pitch in the left-hander batter's box. And I'm not like talking on the corner. I'm talking like the middle of the box to get him to see if he just swings. And if I walk him, I walk him. Like,
this is like Barry Bonds in his prime. Like, you should not throw this guy a ball over the plate. Just don't.
Or anything straight. Don't
make somebody else beat you.
Oh my God.
Make Stanton beat you. Make DJ LeMahieu beat you. make Anthony Rizzo beat you, because Rizzo's been cold as ice since he had that crazy 20 home run
Yeah,
start.
well, he hit a 3-run bomb tonight too.
Oh,
So,
of course he did.
yeah.
I'd say that and he hit a friggin' bomb, but
of course, naturally.
but still, I mean, like he has not been the same guy who was launching missiles in April and May.
Yeah.
Like Judge is the guy that gets them. He gets them the early lead and he gets them the late game insurance. Like he is the only guy right now that's consistently producing in that lineup every freaking night.
Every night. Yeah, it's. I mean,
why are
as
you
much
still
as I
pitching to him?
yeah, as much as I hate the Yankees, he is must see TV right now. And
No,
every time the guy gets in the box, like you gotta.
I feel about Aaron Judge like I used to feel about Derek Jeter. I hated the Yankees, but I had nothing but love and respect for Derek Jeter, what he meant to the game.
Yep.
Like Aaron Judge is now becoming that guy for the Yankees. Like
Have
hate
you
him,
watched?
hate the Yankees, but I
Yeah.
love and respect what he's doing.
Have you watched The Captain yet?
I've not. I don't know if I can. I feel like it's gonna change what I think about that time period.
They did a good job. I mean, I'm at 4 episodes in. They released 5 and 6 on Thursday.
Okay.
It's good. It's a good watch. If you like documentaries and you love
I do.
baseball, like it's
I found myself with the Tom Brady Man in the Arena. Like I got
Never
halfway through it
watched
and I'm like, I don't want to watch it anymore. Like I don't want the behind the scenes. Because I'm actually finding that I like Tom Brady less by watching it.
Yeah. They did a really good job of mostly recapping the stuff on the field. I mean, yeah, they have some behind the scenes stuff like his upbringing, being in a mixed family and stuff like that, and what
His
the challenges
cool.
that. Oh, his story's unreal. And coming out of Kalamazoo, Michigan, and he just outworked everybody when he was in high school, and it just translated over to the. But yeah, watch it and we'll get back to it. It's good because they blast A-Rod through it too, and it's
good. I love that.
Awesome.
I love that.
Yeah. But
yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. I think a lot of pitchers are like, I'm going to be the guy that makes Aaron Judge go 0-for-4. However, there's not many of those guys that have done it. Although, did you see the comments made by, was it Verlander or Scherzer about the pitch comm?
Yeah, Scherzer hates him.
He's like, this thing should be illegal. It's stupid.
Yeah.
I loved it.
So,
finally uses it. And he's like, nah, I hate this thing. Don't do it. Don't use this anymore.
And they're like, are you going to use it tomorrow, next start? And he goes, probably.
Well, because they're going to make him use it. So, yeah, of course I'm going to use it.
Yeah. I didn't think, listen, Brian says he's with you. He hates the Yankees, loves Jeter, doesn't think he can watch the Captain. As a diehard Red Sox fan, I didn't think I could either. But they really did a good job, at least the first 4 episodes, because as much as I hate the Yankees, I hate A-Rod even more.
Oh God!
And
yes.
they did such a good job. They did such a good job of just kind of smashing him in these first 4 episodes.
A-Rod is like the biggest fraud of all time. Like A-Fraud is 100% his name.
But they show like Jeter wants to win and A-Rod wants to be a star, and that shows like how imbalanced it really is because of the way they thought about it and went about their games.
I saw a cool quote that came from it, something along the lines of, "I don't have to like you to play alongside you and win with you," which I think was Jeter's mentality of, I don't have to be your best friend, but you better show up to play and win every day because that's what I do.
Right.
But I'm with Brian. I struggle with this one. Like that whole Yankees dynasty, Derek Jeter, like I have nothing but enormous respect for the captain and what he did for that organization, what he did for that team. I just struggle with the idea of sitting there watching the details of it because I feel like it's going to change my opinion of that time period. But if they rail on A-Rod, I might be in.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't want to sit here and ruin it all for you because they do a good job. Because Jeter and A-Rod are close at the beginning. Like they're like best friends. And then okay, moving on.
Well, I'm still pissed. I'm still pissed about Jeter getting Rookie of the Year, A-Rod getting Rookie of the Year. Although Nomar had the better season, like I'm still mad about
35-game hitting streak.
Yeah, I'm still mad about Nomar getting squeezed out in the Rookie of the Year race. I'm just saying.
Nomar is in the documentary too, by the way. So.
Oh, good. All right, he should be. Nomar, I mean, Jeter, A-Rod, Nomar. They were the shortstops, the premier shortstops of that era.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it's good. I enjoyed it. I'll watch the rest of it.
Maybe I'll check in on it.
Okay. If you don't like it, then shut it off. Like that's the power.
I do love a good documentary. I love the behind the scenes stuff. that one hits a little close to home for me.
Okay, fair enough. All right, so we're gonna head home here. Let's start with Mike Trout's career back injury.
Oh,
That's
man.
not really a career back injury, and he's
Yeah.
gonna come
Is
back
it
and play this year.
is it bad or not? Like, I can't tell. The doctors say it's bad. He says I'm good. I don't know.
I I I didn't really read much on it. I'm gonna be honest, except for just the fact that like it came out and it's like this is a rare back issue. This could be career ending. And then the next like bleep that comes through my phone is Mike Trout says he'll be back this season. And I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. Like, what is it?
I don't know. I just said rare back condition when I looked at it, but I mean,
I feel like this is so consistent with Trout's career. This is a guy who would be setting pretty much every MLB record there is. But the last 3 years, he's missed probably half the games
at
because
least.
he can't stay healthy all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And it's weird because here's a guy who's, what is he, 30, who all of a sudden can't get on the field anymore. And it's just so weird that he's had all these injury problems, and a lot of it's been tied to, he's had back. It's like JD Martinez, back spasms today, and then he said all kinds of weird stuff too with wrists and ankles. But and Brian's point's great here. Like, he gets a cortisone shot, like he's all good, but that's never the long-term solution. Like, a cortisone shot is literally nothing more than a numbing agent. Like, it basically hides the fact that you hurt and you're in pain, which is great until the cortisone shot wears off. And then what damage have you done? And how long before you can't get any more cortisone shots?
So it says he was diagnosed with costovertebral dysfunction. So
yeah, his vertebrae.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, his vertebrae are basically no longer in. I believe it's the fluid in the vertebrae. Like, he's losing fluid in the vertebrae, so now he's got bone-on-bone situations. The only way you solve those is cortisone shots create basically artificial fluid between the vertebrae that makes it feel like it's okay for a little while. And then usually what's happened is you end up getting back fusions and metal rods put in your back. Like, there's no way that guy's going to go hit 30, 40, 50 home runs with a metal rod down his spinal column.
Yeah, the trainer said this is something that Trout may have to manage, not just through the rest of the season, but the rest of his career.
Right.
So,
this is something that usually puts people into like a wheelchair in their 40s. Like, he's going to have limited range of motion. He's going to have a lot of pain. This is not like I'm going to get up tomorrow, pop in a leave, and go hit a bomb. I feel like this guy's career is going to get cut significantly short, and we're now going to miss potentially what weird. Mike Trout could have been, because really that guy should be rewriting every freaking record there is. Home runs, RBIs, hits, stolen bases. I mean, the guy did everything.
Yeah.
And all these injuries now make sense because ultimately when your core is failing, everything else begins to pick up the slack. And that's when you get issues with your shoulders, your hamstrings, your calves, because your body's compensating.
Right. Yeah, he said, this is a quote from Mike Trout. It went from my career is over to hopefully I'm going to play soon. And he's like, with a workout regimen, it's pretty much gone right now. It's pretty promising.
Yeah,
so Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, you don't work out enough to make this go away. Like, this is something he's going to be dealing with. Here's a guy who's going to be on one of those load management programs forever. He's going to play 3 games, take 2 off, play 3 games, take 2 off, play 2 games, take 2 off. Like, he's going to continue. He's going to, 100 games might become his benchmark. Like, if he can play that many, it's a good season.
Yeah. Brian says, so this is like Tommy John, too many swings in his career, preseason AAU travel. Yeah. Overuse injuries for sure, right? I mean, how many swings have these guys taken by the time they're 30 years old? I can't even.
Well, and obviously I'm not a doctor, but when I read into the costovertebral dysfunction, this is not a like overuse injury. This is he's had this issue since he was born that just never showed up until he got to a certain point of activity. And it's, obviously now overuse becomes the issue because he's only got, basically what we've learned is that he's got so many swings left in his body. He's only going to make so many swings for the rest of his career. They've got to manage to maximize those swings because that spinal column, his vertebrae are going to give out on him. His back is going to quit on him long before he wants to.
Yeah.
So now they've got to manage what he's got left, which is devastating news for him and his career, but it's devastating news for the Angels too, because here's a guy you're going to build your whole organization around for the next 8 years, and he may not make it to the end of that contract.
Yeah, you invested
Huge.
almost $500 million in this guy. Like, you were expecting it to pay out, and then,
Well, so now think about it.
gambled
Think
and
about
lost.
think down the road. If you're Shohei Ohtani, are you staying knowing that
Nope.
the other key guy has got
Gone.
a major life-altering back problem? Hell
Yeah.
no.
No.
Like, if I'm Shohei, I'm gone. I am
Yeah.
running to LA or New York or St. Louis or somewhere else because I'm not going to hitch my wagon to a guy who has a significant degenerative back problem.
Yeah.
Like, that
1,000%
alters the
out.
future of the Angels significantly.
I mean, if they even had a future, but I know what you're saying. Like, yeah.
I mean, you'd like to think one day they'd be competitive. Maybe
Right.
maybe not today, and certainly not tomorrow.
That's another team. I know we talked about the Red Sox earlier, but I just cannot wrap my head around the Anaheim Angels of Los Angeles, California, USA. Like, I can't. Like, I don't know. Like, they should have a competitive team. Like, the players on the field are good players.
And what I don't get is they were so good through like the end of May, and then they just imploded. But all these young guys, Ward and Marsh, and then Trout was having a good season. Ohtani was having a good season. Like, you had all these Syndergaard's having a good season. Like, you had all these pieces coming together, and then just poof, it was all gone like overnight. Like,
Right.
that organization is absolutely like snake bitten because every time they make progress, something blows up in their face. Anthony Rendon goes down for the whole friggin' year with a wrist injury. Like,
Ward's
Trout's out
now
again.
too, I think. Ward's
Well,
out.
not only that, yeah, exactly. And then not only that, but like, now you have this potentially degenerative back issue with Trout, which is going to alter his career. I mean, if you're an Angels fan, are you now like throwing a Dodgers hat on saying, forget it, I'm done? Like, I can't deal with this abuse anymore?
I mean, you're not going to throw an Oakland A's hat on, that's for sure.
Well, hell no. I mean, Jesus, let's be serious. I mean,
I'd
even the
rather be an
Oakland A's
Angels
don't want to
fan.
put an Oakland A's hat on. I mean,
Right.
honestly, like the 25 guys in the Oakland A's roster are probably the only guys in baseball that don't want to tell people they're in baseball
Right.
because of how much people hate the A's.
What do you do for a living? I'm
I
a
bag
hot dog
groceries.
vendor. Right, I'm a
Yeah, I
hot
bag
dog vendor
groceries.
at the Oakland A's stadium.
Right. I work the concessions at the Oakland A's. I'm on the field crew.
Dude, I have your baseball card. You're definitely wrong. It's like, you don't have my baseball card.
Yeah, you're wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
I do not play for that team.
So I did. Oh, before we move on to that last issue, Julio Rodriguez and Dylan Moore for Seattle hit the IL as well. They're losing right now 6-2 to the Yankees. But
that's a huge blow.
It's a huge blow, but it's only a 10-day IL for Rodriguez. It looks like a bruise. His x-rays came back negative. However, Trevor Stories also did come back negative, and then he ended up with a hairline fracture. So, and it's pretty much the same thing. He got hit on the right hand, I think, and it's a hand bruise, hopefully. But
yeah, so what you're saying is that Rodriguez actually turns out it was only a bruise.
Yeah, that's what they said. So he's on the 10-day IL. I don't know if they're going to get a second opinion or not, but when they released Stories, that's what they said too, and then it ended up being a fracture when they got a second opinion. So I don't know.
Yeah,
but he's just on the 10-day IL for now. Yeah, we'll talk about that real quick, Brian. Drew Jones, the number 2 pick behind the 12-year-old Jackson Holiday.
To the Diamondbacks, to answer your question.
Yeah, Arizona did draft Drew Jones, in his second workout, he blew out his shoulder. And it was like
he was injured during the first batting practice of the team. They're saying he tweaked the shoulder, but apparently he's had ongoing problems with that shoulder. So it sounds like it's one of those where, like, he's had injuries in the past. They liked the medical profile they got, so they took the chance. But immediately his first BP with the team or in the minors, he tweaks that shoulder. He's out, and they're playing it very safe with him because apparently that shoulder injury has reoccurred over the last couple of years, and they want him to actually see a specialist and get it really dealt with versus just like, managing it, which is what he's done.
And you just paid the dude $8.2 million to
I
sign
know.
his name. Imagine signing your name, Harrison Smith. Oh, here's a check for $8.2 million. Like, what?
Oh, my shoulder! I'm out.
Right? Oh, I need time to spend this. I think
I feel like this is a scam, but yeah. So apparently he's had ongoing shoulder problems. They like the medical profile. He tweaked the shoulder. He's seeing a specialist. They're going to take it really slow with him because obviously the kid's like 12, so why wouldn't you? But he has had ongoing shoulder problems they knew about and they were not worried about. So I guess we'll see what comes of it. But yeah, literally his very first BP, he hurts himself.
Yeah.
Which makes you wonder, did he hurt himself during the season, whatever prep school he was at, and just not tell anybody going through the draft process and then be like, oh, I cashed a check, my shoulder hurts, ouch.
I mean, yeah. I mean, he was going to go high anyway just because of who he was. I don't think
if
it
he's
would have
half
mattered.
the player his dad was, I mean, come on, let's be serious.
Well, his dad was already hitting home runs in the World Series at his age, so he's not the
very fair point.
He's not the
very
player
fair
he
point.
was.
But yeah, I think to Brian's point, we've seen a lot of guys get drafted high and immediately have injury problems, shoulders, elbows. Not uncommon. Usually it's pitchers. You don't usually see a lot of position guys go down with injuries, but
I think that could be. I think that could be a lot of like just the pressure, right? The pressure of being the number one pick, the high draft pick. You got to come in and you got to show these guys who you are, and your body's just not ready for that level yet, and you're just trying to overexert. And I'm just spitballing. I don't really know if that's true, but I mean it's.
But again, it goes back to like the Mike Trout situation. Like how much of this might be overuse? Like Drew Jones has played in 97 leagues. He's probably playing on all kinds of travel teams, perfect game leagues. Like he's probably playing too much. And the nice thing is the Diamondbacks are in a spot right now where they're not competitive. They're not going to rush him. They're actually considering shutting him down for the season, having him see a specialist, putting him on a strengthening program so that he's ready to go for next year. Because if you're the Diamondbacks, you don't have to rush this kid. Hey, look, Drew, take the next couple months, go see a specialist, get a workout program. Let's build up some strength. We'll see you in April. No big deal.
Yeah. So, I mean, you're shutting him down for the year, right? It doesn't even that's what, 2 months, a month.
Well, it's literally 4 or 5 weeks.
Yeah.
And again, he's going to miss 5 weeks at rookie ball. Who cares?
Right.
Get the kid right. Let him start on a clean slate in March next year, February next year. But
sure.
he's extremely talented.
Yeah.
And the Diamondbacks thankfully have the luxury of giving him time to get right.
Yeah.
But Julio Rodriguez, if he misses more than 10 days, that Mariners team is in trouble.
Yep. I agree.
100%. That run they've been on is done.
Because they just brought up Jared Kelenic, and he's already been up and down 3 or 4 times.
That trade is forever going to haunt them.
Yeah.
I mean, granted, they got rid of Cano, which was great, but they got literally a bag of balls back for him. I mean, Kelenic hasn't done a thing in his whole career.
Yeah. And he was a high draft pick choice or future guy. He was supposed to be
he was one of the Mets' top prospects.
Guy.
Yeah. He was one of their top prospects. They were super high on him, and he has absolutely delivered nothing since then.
All right, so this is what we did talk about this a little bit last week about the vaccination status in Toronto. I was thinking about it more this week, and the way it goes right now is Toronto's in the second wild card spot, correct?
First, second, yes.
So if that's the case, would they host the wild card or would they travel?
So right now, the wild card is Toronto's in the first spot. They got a 2.5 game lead over Seattle for the first wild card spot.
So I was thinking
They would host.
Right now. I go, best case scenario in my head this week, it just randomly popped in. I go, if Toronto has to travel for that 1 game wild card and they lose, then the MLB is in prime shape. Because then they're not going to have to worry about it.
Yeah,
like
so
that's
as it stands right now, Toronto would be traveling to Minnesota for the first round. Because the Yankees would get Tampa, Houston would get Seattle, Minnesota would get Toronto.
No, the Yankees and the Astros have a bye. So Minnesota would play.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're right.
So Minnesota
would get Tampa. Toronto would get Seattle. You're right.
Yeah. So, but either way, I was just thinking, I was like, man, that's like best case scenario for the MLB is if the Blue Jays have to travel for the wild card game and then they lose the 1 game play-in. Or is there no 1 game play-in at all? Is it an automatic 3 game series to start?
No, it's playing game. You still have the play-in. So Seattle and Tampa Bay would play in the play-in, and then Toronto would get the Yankees. That's how it would work. So Seattle, Tampa Bay play for the final spot, and then the winner of that would get the Yankees. Toronto would get Houston.
But then Minnesota's not there.
No, that's not right. The play-in's gone.
So the play-in's gone. So it's a 3 game series.
So it'd be the Yankees, Tampa, Houston, Seattle, Minnesota, Toronto.
But the Yankees and Astros have a first round bye.
Right. So then it goes Minnesota, Tampa, Toronto, Seattle.
Gotcha. So my theory's out the window then. Never mind. Because I was going to say, if it was just the 1 game wild card, best case scenario for the MLB would be for the Toronto to lose on the road in that wild card so they wouldn't have to go to Toronto.
Yeah, so in the current scenario, Toronto would be hosting Seattle.
Yeah.
Which would absolutely bring the whole vaccination status thing into play, which I don't know if Seattle's got a problem there or not. I know like nobody's got a problem like Kansas City leaving 10 players behind.
Right.
Yeah. But
that's the thing too. By that time, no one might actually have an issue. Like everyone might be.
What's interesting at that point is that even Benintendi even said that like, look, I'm open to getting vaccinated if I need to for the team, but I didn't need to in Kansas City. Like it didn't matter.
Well, right.
Which he's right. It didn't. That team was awful. They weren't going anywhere.
Right. But yeah, I just I don't know. Just a random thought that popped into my head this week. I was like, But I forgot that they've changed out the whole.
It does make you wonder, like, are these organizations in preparation for the playoffs going to go to their players going, hey, you guys that aren't vaccinated, like, can we fix that? Like, will you do it? And your whatever your feelings on vaccination are aside, like this actually is a problem because going to Toronto is going to be a potential hurdle for many of these teams. I don't think Toronto's like a first round oust. Like they're going to be around for a couple of rounds. Yeah. If you're a playoff team, you need to be prepared to travel to Toronto.
Absolutely. Which I think they will be. They got 2 months.
I feel like if I'm a Major League Baseball player and the chance to go to the World Series goes to the Toronto, I'm going to go get the jab whether I like it or not. Like
your shot to play in the Fall Classic.
That just makes sense.
Right. You're going to be like, nah.
Because indications are Canada is not going to remove that requirement anytime soon. So if you are a playoff team and you are an unvaccinated player, you need to get prepared for the reality of going to Toronto for maybe it's only a couple of games, but you're going to go there at some point potentially.
How did the NHL deal with it? Because I mean, how many teams did they get up there? 12? I mean,
did any of them make the playoffs?
Oh yeah, dude. Edmonton was in there. Pretty sure Toronto was in there. So I mean, the NHL must have mandated their players to get vaccines.
So Calgary was in, Edmonton was in, and Toronto got bumped in the first round. But so you did have 3 Canada teams in there. Because I mean, I watched the Stanley Cup, and that was friggin' amazing, the Avalanche and Lightning. But you had Calgary advanced to the second round, Edmonton advanced to the second round. So you had Canada versus Canada in the second round, Calgary, Edmonton.
Right. So I was just wondering like what the vaccination status was on US teams going there because
It should
obviously
have been the same, right?
right. But I was wondering if the NHL made it a mandate for their players or if that was a team
I don't know
decision.
because
Probably
honestly,
a lot of those
I never heard it mentioned for the NHL. Like it was
well,
just
and let's be honest, probably a lot of those guys that are coming from, Europe
oh yeah,
have to be vaccinated to get into the US to begin with.
that's fair. So many
So
of your NHL players are European and Canadian, so
right.
they were probably vaccinated because they knew they had to be anyways.
Right, to even get in the US to play. So I mean
It's interesting because MLB and I guess the NBA is the same way because you only have one Canadian-based team in the Toronto Raptors. MLB only has the Toronto Blue Jays, and the NHL has 3 or 4 Canadian teams. So I feel like it's MLB and NBA that have that issue. But it's a reality, and if you're going to be on a playoff team, I have to imagine these teams are going around saying, "Hey guys, like you got to be ready for this," and it takes you a month start to finish, so you better get started now.
I got it. Winnipeg. Yeah, I mean NHL's got like 8 or 9 teams up there, but
in the playoffs alone, you had 3 of them.
3, yeah, but yeah, I don't know. It was just interesting. Like I said, it was just a random thought that popped in my head. I was like, man, if they go on the road and they lose, it's all it doesn't even matter. So,
interesting comment from Brian.
Some guy for the Warriors says he regrets getting it, even winning the championship. Huh. Yeah.
I mean, again, like, your feeling on vaccinations aside, like if your road to a championship runs through Toronto, like, are you getting the shot or are you saying, well, I'm going to skip those games?
Right.
Like,
and
I feel like that's going to be tough to tell your teammates, hey, I'm going to pass on these games because I don't want to get a shot, but good luck, guys. I hope you win.
And I don't, like we talked about last week, I don't think it's up to the MLB to make that call. Like,
no, they can't. They can't tell you.
Right. Like, and you guys know what the status is in Canada. It's been this way for this long.
All season.
Had this much, right. You've had this much time to deal with it.
Actually, last season too. It's now 2 years.
Right. Yep. Absolutely. So
it is what it is. And these teams are going to either prepare for it or not.
Yep. So we will see. But yeah. So I mean, my phone is most likely going to be blowing up all night tonight, all day tomorrow.
It's been crazy.
If it's real crazy, man, I'm almost thinking about just popping on here again tomorrow night and see. But yeah, nuts. But man, I want to see a Juan Soto deal done, but I don't know if it's actually gonna.
Honestly, I want to see the Red Sox actually have a plan and either dump players or improve. Like, don't run the middle of the road. Don't run the fence line. Like, let's do something here. Let's either sell and rebuild or buy and make a run. But let's not live in the middle here.
Yeah, I completely.
But I would say for sure everybody should be checking the Facebook page because everything we hear about, we're going to be posting about.
Yeah, 1,000%.
It should be a wild 20-ish hours.
I mean, JD Martinez is gone for sure. Just to recap, I mean,
well, but at the same time, like, I'm not sure who he's not the same guy anymore. Like, who is he? He's got 0 power. He doesn't drive the ball anymore. He's great at dropping base hits into right center field. Like, he's Tony Gwynn.
Yeah, but you put him in a lineup in the New York Mets lineup. Like, I mean, again, protection.
He probably hits 6th or 7th for the Mets and contributes.
Yeah, but I mean, that's what the Mets want. That's what they need.
Yeah.
He'll give you occasional oppo power.
Oh, yeah. But I always thought JD was, like, ideally suited for, like, the 5-hole. He's a line drive gap-to-gap hitter that occasionally barrels one and hits it out. He's, like, your perfect 5 hitter.
Yeah. Agree. But, I mean, his decline has definitely been noticeable this year.
It's been fast. Yeah. He's a shadow of his former self.
Yeah. I mean, it's been fun to watch him hit because he is the ultimate professional hitter. Like, he knows what he's doing. He's got a plan when he goes up there. He can take a slider to right field and make it look like, other than Manny Ramirez, I honestly have not seen a better right-handed opposite field hitter other than JD Martinez.
Well, I mean, he is to hitting what Curt Schilling was to pitching. That guy knows He has a book on everybody. He is a student of the game. It's sad to see his power decline so rapidly, but at the same time, physically, we knew this was coming. He's had a variety of injuries. He's not the same guy.
He
His
was
bat
still an
speed.
all-star this year, though. That's the
I
crazy
know.
part.
Well, but that's a sad statement of the position more so than any kind of like.
And he was like, what was he, like 10th on the depth chart? It was just
Yeah,
like
he
10
was like the
people
fifth
decided
guy
not to
chosen,
go.
but he got in because everybody passed. But
Yeah,
I mean, he's still a great hitter. He's just not a power hitter anymore.
yeah. Which, yeah, I agree. But
yeah, he'll be good for somebody.
Oh, for sure. It'd just be, well, I've heard rumors that it's the third base prospect for the Mets. If that's the deal, I don't know. Like he's in Buffalo right now, but that was the last thing I heard.
That's okay.
Whether that happens or not, but
the Red Sox need some minor league depth, so take it.
Right, Bogarts is gone. You move Story just short and move that kid over to second base.
And likely Devers ends up as a first baseman because he's not a great third baseman, and you have a third base prospect. Win.
That's true. Absolutely. All right. Well, Harrison said, just keep an eye on our Facebook page. We will be most likely posting like crazy tomorrow. But
it should be a fun 20 or so hours.
Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by and hanging out with us. And just before you go, just like, subscribe, share our podcast, interact with us with all the posts that we have. We eat it up. So we live, sleep, and breathe this stuff. So we'll look forward to talking to you guys all day tomorrow. And see you next week at 8.